In this video, we'll be concerned with goal-setting theory. An effective time management strategy is to be able to set appropriate work goals and objectives. It's important to have a set of work goals and objectives. Otherwise, the organization will be confused and not achieve good efficiency or its overall objectives. Its personnel, the managers and the workers, will perhaps be at cross purposes about what's needed or when work is required, or it's not conducive to efficiency or to long-run sustainability for that matter. So an effective time management strategy is necessary for good working practices. Highly motivated individuals are those that can effectively set their own goals. Now, an organization with highly motivated individuals is one which is pushing itself, it's driving itself on from internal forces. And these sometimes reside within the managers and the workers within the organization. It's just part of their personality. They want to set goals and achieve the goals. It's what motivates them. It's their interests. Edwin Locke's goal-setting theory emphasized that employees are only motivated when they have clear goals and receive instructive feedback. So it's important that the employees are motivated, but that will only happen when they have clear goals. They need to know what they're doing. They need to know what they're working towards. They need to be informed and considered by the management, and their reaction to the work and their feelings about the work also be considered. And when they've applied themselves to it, they should have constructive feedback which will enable them to polish their performance perhaps and improve it for the next time. But in doing it this way, in providing feedback and by giving them clear goals, the employees will be motivated, according to Locke's theory. Dr. Edwin Locke introduced his goal-setting theory during the 1960s. The main principles of Locke's theory are based on goal setting and how effective goal setting enhances individual performance and motivation. So it's looking at the issue of goal setting and making sure that the goals are achievable and there's a time associated with them. And from what I'm saying right now, you can see that I'm heading towards a SMART framework, which we'll discuss later in these slides. But it's important that the employee has clear indications of what is required. What are the goals that are facing the employee? What must the employee achieve? And this will drive the employee's performance. They will want to achieve the goals. They will have pride in their work, and they will be motivated because they find the work challenging. But it must be achievable, and we'll talk about the SMART framework shortly. But it must be achievable. So if the employee faces those conditions, that the goal is interesting, it's achievable, and it's clearly defined, then the worker, the employee, will be motivated according to this view. According to Locke, individuals who are working through difficult but achievable goals are more motivated and eager to accomplish them. Conversely, easy goals have little impact on individuals. So according to Locke, people need a challenge at work. They need a challenge that can be done. It's possible to achieve the task, but they will work hard towards it, providing they know what they're doing, they know what's expected of them, they know it's difficult, but it's a challenge, and they're motivated to achieve. If the goals are very easy, it's a very easy, straightforward task, then, according to this view, the employees will not take it seriously, they will not apply themselves conscientiously or diligently, they will just do it. But they're not motivated, they're not actively engaged with the task. Effective goals are goals which adhere to the SMART acronym. For example, here's an example of a SMART statement. I will achieve 80% attendance by the end of the next semester. Now, this is more effective than saying I will improve my attendance. There's a figure here, 80%. It's very precise. So now the person who sets this goal has a precise figure to achieve. They're not aiming for 75% attendance, they're aiming for 80% or even better. So it's a very clear goal that's been stated. And we'll talk about the SMART acronym in a second. There are two types of goals, however. Directional goals achieved without planning and preparation, ideally for highly motivated individuals. So there's not much planning or preparation in these goals. The individuals who perform these tasks are highly motivated. They want to show what they can do, they're interested, they apply themselves diligently to the tasks, they produce results. So it's directional. They're directing their efforts in an appropriate manner. And also accuracy. Through goals, individuals develop these goals and aims to achieve them. So if they're well thought through, if they're well designed and well worked out, so that the goals are not just haphazard, they're not just put there for the sake of it. If they're well thought out, then these goals will act as a focal point for the individual who will try to achieve them. They will apply themselves to achieve them. They've been well thought out goals. These are not just random speculations about what we might do in the future or might not do in the future. These are specific, they are clearly understood, and this is what will drive the individual. Well thought out goals. So two types: directional, achieved without planning or preparation, just people get down and do it. They are motivated and they're directing their energy to achieve the goal. The other one is accuracy, well thought out, very clear goals, very clearly specified, and the individual will try to achieve those. Locke's goal-setting theory consists of 5 basic principles, which are known as the 4 C's: clarity, challenge, complex or complexity, commitment, and feedback. So we've got the 4 C's plus feedback. So we've got 5 issues to consider, but known as the 4 C's plus feedback. So clarity. Well, goals must be clear and measurable in order for them to be achievable. If they're not clear, they're vague. If they're vague, they're confusing. They may be achieved or not achieved, because the people who are trying to achieve them are not sure of what's expected of them. So there'll be confusion about the goals and about what's required. So if they lack clarity, the chances are they will not be achieved, or will not be achieved efficiently, or the outcomes may not be precisely as required. Individuals are more motivated when there is an understanding of what is expected from them. For example, goals derived from your development plan. So if you have a development plan for yourself about your career and the qualifications you want to get and the experiences you need and so on, so you've written this out in your development plan. Now you've set yourself goals. The goals are to achieve a certain amount of experience in a certain way, to achieve a certain qualification, to read for an honours degree or a master's degree or whatever it is. And you are setting yourself goals, and this is what will motivate you. Goals that provide clarity follow the SMART acronym. Now the SMART acronym, we've mentioned it a few times. Just to recap, it is the subject matter of separate videos, but just to recap it here, it's SMART, S specific, M measurable, assignable, realistic, and time related. So the goals must be specific, they must be aimed at something, and they must be clear what they're aimed at. They must be measurable, otherwise we won't know if the goals have been achieved or not. So the goals must be measurable. They must be assignable. We must know who owns the goals, who's responsible for that particular goal, who's responsible for that particular piece of work or that particular task, who's responsible. So it must be assignable to somebody. It should be realistic. The goal should be achievable. If it's not achievable, there's no point in even attempting to work on it. It's not achievable. So it must be realistic. It must be achievable. And time related, it must be completed by a certain date. Otherwise it'll just drift on and on. It'll go forever. So it must have a termination date, a date of completion. Examples include: I must achieve 95% attendance on my BTEC course within the first semester, and aim to achieve a distinction in 3 to 5 units in my first year. Now these are very specific. They're specific, so the S is ticked. If we go back to the SMART acronym, it's specific. They're measurable. 95%. Do you score 95%? Have you got 3 to 5 distinctions? That's the goal. So it's measurable, assignable. I must achieve. It's assignable. It's you. It's your task. So it's your goal. I must. So that is assignable. Realistic. Well, is it realistic to attend 95% of the course? I would have thought, if you're dedicated to the course, 100% is achievable. You may be away ill sometimes, but if you're lucky enough to study online with the facilities that are available online, it doesn't matter where you study, so you should be able to cover 95% of the course. Scoring 3 to 5 distinctions, it's achievable, it's realistic, but it depends on the effort you make. But that could be the goal. And the final one, the T, is time related. Well, time related in my first year, it says. So there is a time dimension. So that sentence conforms to our SMART requirements. And the goal here is SMART. It fits that SMART framework. Challenge. Well, goals must be challenging in order to motivate individuals to achieve and to try to do their best. So they try to work towards doing their best if the goals are achievable. They should be strive to do their best, not thrive. Anyway, the goal must be achievable, it must be challenging, and they must feel that they have to work and concentrate to achieve it. That will give them more satisfaction. They'll be happier if they've achieved something that's difficult than something that is very easy. They'll have more pride in the outcome. Difficult goals increase the level of motivation, as there's a perceived reward attached to it. A sense of achievement. It's difficult. You've done something difficult. If it's easy, as I said, then there's nothing to be too proud of. So difficult goals are uh, more more pleasurable in the sense they're more they give more satisfaction at the end. They're difficult, but they must be achievable. If they're not realistic, they might be too difficult, for example, which makes them unrealistic, then there's no point. So they must be achievable. Ensure that your goals are relevant and specific to the reward on offer. Well, the goals must be aimed at something. They can't just be goals for the sake of it. They must fit into a framework. If it's within a company, the goal may be to achieve more sales in a given area if you happen to be a salesperson, or to achieve better outcome or better output from a particular process if it's a manufacturing company, or in your own life to achieve a better score in your studies. But they can't just be goals for the sake of goals. They must be aimed at something. They must contribute towards the achievement of some wide achievement, the success of the business or the success of you in terms of your studies and your career development. They must be aimed at something, otherwise they don't make a lot of sense. Commitment. Well, Locke suggested that effective goals are those that are agreed by the individual rather than being given as a goal to achieve. So there should be commitment on the part of individuals to achieve the goals. That commitment is if they're involved in the development of the goal themselves. If they set the goal, then they'll have more commitment. If the goals are just given to them and told that they must achieve it, they may not have agreed with the goal, they may not have, or they may not buy into the idea, or there might be resistance or lack of motivation. But if the goal belongs to them, there is more commitment. For example, agreed goals between a manager and employee during performance appraisals. Well, performance appraisals are, in a sense, good ways in which goals can be developed. During the appraisal, the manager would ask the employee as to what he or she expected to achieve in the following year, let's say, or in the following 6 months, and how they were going to go about it, and they would discuss this, and this would become a goal for the employee, who would then have committed him or herself to the achievement of that goal, and it would be recorded by the manager. So there is commitment on the part of the employee because the employee agreed to it during the appraisal. It wasn't forced on the employee. It came out of the discussions during the appraisal. Individuals are more likely to commit to a goal knowing that they developed it. That's the point. If individuals develop their goals, they will be committed and they will try hard to achieve them. Goal commitment and level of goal difficulty are correlated positively. The more difficult goals are, the more people are committed to achieve them, the more sense of satisfaction they've got at the end. High levels of difficulty results in more commitment to achieve the goal, more satisfaction, more praise at the end because they have achieved something that's quite difficult, and that could be a driving force in terms of their motivation. Feedback. Well, feedback is an essential part of goal setting. There must be opportunities to review clarity and whether the goal is still achievable. So it's important that the person undertaking a particular goal has clarity and can check the clarity of what they're trying to do. Make sure that they're moving in the right direction. Make sure that they understand the goal and what they want to achieve, and understand what they're doing in terms of processes to achieve the goal, and how correct those processes are, and how focused they are on the achievement of the goal. They also need to know if the goal is still achievable. Perhaps situations in the environment have changed, which means that the goal is no longer achievable. So it's important for the person undertaking a particular task or goal to understand that they're still on target, they're still doing the right things, they're still working in the right way, and that the goal is achievable. For example, let's say the goal is to achieve a certain academic qualification. It's important to know that they're working in the right manner, studying in the right manner to achieve that qualification. But the qualification must also exist. Sometimes qualifications are withdrawn by colleges and universities. So the student have put in a lot of effort and there's no qualification. So if the goal was to achieve a certain qualification, they must check periodically to make sure that what they're doing is appropriate, that they're on the right course, they're doing the right things, they're succeeding in terms of the goal they've set. And also, of course, that the goal is still available. Individuals are more likely to achieve goals if they regularly review their progress and make adjustments if necessary. So periodic updates in terms of goals and what's been agreed and what's been set, and to what extent the goals have been achieved or partially achieved, and whether the efforts are still broadly correct for the overall achievement of the goal. So periodic checks will reinforce the whole activity and try to ensure that the person is not wasting time or putting in effort which is being expended wrongly. It's important that the effort put in is focused on the achievement of the particular goal that was set. Setting goals provides for personal and professional development. If individuals set themselves goals to achieve some particular qualification or particular task or particular to pick up a certain skill or a competency or whatever, if they set themselves that task and they achieve it, then it's something that they can be duly proud of, but also it will contribute towards their personal and professional development. Personally, they will feel much more pride in themselves. They're capable of doing something. And professionally, it may enable them to get better employment. Therefore, goals should be challenging, but not so complex that individuals become frustrated or overwhelmed or disinterested or demotivated. So they should be challenging. They shouldn't be easy. On the other hand, this should not be so difficult that they can't be achieved. It's a balance to be struck. The need to find a middle way. It should be challenging but achievable, and that's important. Complex goals are achievable if individuals have initiative in place to support them in goal accomplishment. For example, sufficient time, learning resources and opportunities, and goals that adhere to SMART objectives. So, first of all, the goal must accord with the SMART objective, and it should always be checked against the SMART criteria before it's even embarked upon. But there should also have sufficient time to complete the task. There should be sufficient resources to complete the task. This may be learning resources or other resources. And there should be opportunities for to enable the individual to focus in on the task and develop the skills or competencies to complete the task and to demonstrate that they have successfully completed it later on. So it's important when undertaking particularly complex goals to check them against the SMART criteria, and then to make sure that there are sufficient resources in time and perhaps learning resources or perhaps income or travel time or travel facilities or whatever it's required to achieve the particular goal. Depends on what the goal is. But this is important, how to deal with the complexity of the task that's been set. Now, the pros and cons of goal setting theory. Well, on the positive side, it's a form of motivation for individuals to achieve tasks. So goal setting is a good thing. It motivates individuals. It improves performance because you are regularly reviewed and looked at and given feedback on performance. So it improves performance. So those are two significant advantages of goal setting. Against this, well, there is the possibility of negativity or demotivation if the goals are too complex. So it's important, as I said earlier, to ensure that the goals that have been taken on do conform to the SMART criteria that we've discussed, and also to ensure that they've been checked in terms of resources that are available to the person undertaking the task, in terms of time, tools, equipment, perhaps learning equipment, whatever the task is, that there are sufficient resources to complete the task, and that the task, of course, as I said, conforms to the SMART criteria. But that's all we're going to deal with in this case. So we've looked at goal setting theory and the importance of setting goals, and what are the issues associated with the selection and setting of goals. That's all we're going to deal with here, so let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.